Alright, what is going on, guys? My name is Leon Master. Welcome back to another Overwatch League news video, and today, guys, we have a lot to talk about with Florida Mayhem, Houston Outlaws being very surprising how they're doing their stuff, and we're just going on and on with more releases, free agents, whatever you want to do, what do you want to call them. We're going on more and more, and I thought nothing was going to happen today, the day I'm recording this, and it was crazy. Some unexpected stuff, some stuff that needed to happen in general, but it was a lot to go over, and I'm trying my best to make it as short as possible. Some stuff a little bit new here, and we'll see where it goes. Maybe I'll keep doing this a little bit more, but let's go ahead and jump right into it. So if you did not see, Florida Mayhem released 4 players. 1 retired and went to a different game. I'm pretty sure you already know who this is, but here are all the tweets. You have Saya player, Byram, Chris, and Karayan all being released. Saya player going to play for T1 in Valorant now, which was expected at some point. This is surprising. Only Chris is the surprising one, honestly. I did not expect Chris to be released at all after his comeback in Season 3. He's a really good main support now. Not insane, but he's really good now on the main support role. It was very, up and down throughout the season at the start, but he's very good now. Byram, he had his moments when he did play, like the past couple of months when he did play for the team. Karayan, honestly, guys, I knew he was there. I always knew he was on Florida Mayhem, but like there's moments where you kind of forget about that he was in the Overwatch League, which is crazy. And we'll talk about the forgettable part, and that may lead him to a different team coming in next season if he does play. But I honestly completely forgot about him at some points, which is crazy, but I still knew he was in the Overwatch League at the same time. It's kind of like a mix, but Karayan being released, crazy. Byram, I was kind of shocked at the end of the day Byram was getting released, but Chris is the big one. Saya player, I don't have that much to talk about because we all knew he was going to be released at some point, and people still thought he was going to play, which was crazy. He's going to Valorant now, probably going to be a good move for him. He's going to T1 too, which I would love to see, and we'll see where that goes from later on. I have not really seen him play Valorant, so I don't have enough of opinions on him playing Valorant. But if you guys want to read the tweets, they were there on your screen earlier. That's it. And obviously, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to talk about where they could go after. I did my Photoshop. It took a lot of hours on here. I think 2 to 3 hours doing some Photoshop for these guys. And I'm even going to do it with the Houston Outlaws. So let's go ahead and talk about Chris. Where is Chris going to go? Where should he go? And I think there's a lot of teams that would love to have him. But the thing in my mind when it came to Chris is that Chris is a player that probably would have only worked on the Florida Mayhem. Kind of like with all the London Spitfire players that are currently on the roster right now. Obviously, there's a rumor that would be British Hurricane. But right now, as we know, the London Spitfire players, I think they can only work on the London Spitfire, except for like Lister, Bernard, and maybe Sanguinar. But when it comes to the Chris, I kind of say the same thing of Florida Mayhem, but I still won the right teams, so still think he'll have a chance. Is LA Valiant, because I think there's a chance he could be better than Rain at some points. Keep that in mind. Houston Outlaws, obviously, there's a reason he's on here, and I'll talk about that later because Jack is no longer on Houston Outlaws. Toronto Defiant, Chris is just better than Cruz in general. Then you have Chris on the Washington Justice as well. This one could be up and down, really. Like I said, Chris is only really good on the Florida Mayhem, I feel like. So I don't know if he would be better than Arc in some cases, but then again, I feel like he would be better than Arc at the end of the day. But it all depends on what would happen to him. But all around, I do think Chris is a good player. He does seem like a really good shot caller. That's why Florida Mayhem kept him for another season, which at the end of the day did good for them. It took them far into the playoffs, but they still need an upgrade over Chris, in my opinion. Which that could be Slime. I've always said Slime should go to Florida Mayhem, even before he was signed to Seoul. I'm pretty sure you can maybe even find that video when he got released. And I said Florida would have been a good team for him. And who knows where Slime's still going to go. I feel like Slime could go to Justice, Slime could go to Florida Mayhem, but we're talking about Chris, so I'm not going to talk about it so much. So at the end of the day, these are all the teams I chose for him. I do think Chris will have another chance in the Overwatch League. If he doesn't, that most likely maybe he doesn't want to play in the Overwatch League, he wants to retire, or he wants to go back to Contenders, who knows. But I do think there is a strong chance he will be back in the Overwatch League. Now on to Karayan. I think this main tank player, like I said, was very forgettable, which will help him in some cases. And the teams I wrote down for him is the Houston Outlaws, the Boston Uprising, and Toronto Defiant. And the forgettable part is obviously the Boston Uprising. He's still very unknown, I feel like. And he was very unknown in Season 2 because Fate was popping off when they got him. And I think they wanted to use Karayan over Fate, but Fate started like popping off as soon as they signed Karayan, which was unfortunate for Karayan because Karayan and Gargoyle had a really good duo back when they were on the previous Contenders team. And at the end of the day, Karayan's still a very good main tank player. We just haven't seen it in a long time because he was great in Contenders, he was dominating. It stopped as soon as he went to Florida Mayhem, unfortunately, but I do think he does have a really strong chance to come back in the Overwatch League, maybe even some more teams that I just didn't really think of when I made this Photoshop list. But I think he could do really strong in Boston, especially how it looks like Boston is going, because at this point they're definitely going to sign I'm37, they're going to sign Aztac, and maybe some other players that Lori worked with. You might as well get Karayan because he is still a good main tank, and maybe you can find a rotation with him if they do sign another main tank on on the Boston Uprising. When it comes to Toronto Defiant, he's just a strong upgrade over Numlocked in general and Beast. He's very strong. He would actually make that team a little bit better in general if he was there in the first place, but obviously that's gone now. It's nothing to really talk about with the past. But I think he'd be a great pickup for the Toronto Defiant, and also Houston Outlaws. He's just better than Hydration, and no longer Muma, because Muma's no longer on the roster. And at the end of the day, Cryant would be upgrades to these three teams specifically. But if you guys want to talk about some other teams, like, I don't know, maybe Guangzhou Charge or something like that, for sure you can mention some teams in the comments below. But I think these three teams would be the huge upgrades for Cryant to go to. I would love to see him on Boston and see how Boston goes out this next season. It would be great to see. But now let's talk about Byram. Now on to Byram. It was honestly kind of very hard to find teams for Byram, but there was two choices. One of them, not so much, because I still don't know how this team's going in the direction. And one, this is kind of the same thing. And the two teams I wrote down for him is the LA Gladiators and the Vancouver Titans. And I want to talk about the Vancouver Titans real quick, because I still don't really know what direction they're going towards. I still hope they go towards more of a mixed roster, hopefully, because obviously it was kind of like a panic pickup. They needed to sign a roster pretty quick for this season for the Vancouver Titans, so they got second wind and additional players as well. And I think Byron would just be a massive upgrade in general over Rolf, not like huge, not like bringing the S tier Offsport to your team. I think he would just be an upgrade in general. He would be better than Rolf. You would probably, honestly, maybe bring in some more wins over Rolf with Byram. I feel like it wouldn't be massive, like I said. I think Vancouver Titans fans would take this over nothing at the end of the day for an Offsport upgrade with Byram, and I think it would still be fun to watch as well. LA Gladiators, it was just one I wanted to put in there because I do think LA Gladiators at the end of the day found who their next support duo is going to be, or Offsport is going to be. I don't think it's going to be Byram, but if it is, Byram will most likely be a sub or probably in rotation. Who knows what that's going to do with Byram, but at the end of the day, LA Gladiators has no Offsport. That's why I kind of really wrote Byram in there. But if these two teams don't pick him up, I really don't see him being in Overwatch League unless he's going to be a sub 100% of the time. Now, on to the juicy stuff with the Houston Outlaws basically getting rid of their entire team, it feels like. And we'll also talk about a really interesting tweet from them as well at the end of the video. But if you did not see, here is all the tweets from Houston Outlaws players and a coach. Blase gone, Linkser gone, Muma gone, Jexay gone, and Dream the coach all gone, which is absolutely crazy. Blase, we still don't know yet, but I'm pretty sure Blase is 100% got to be gone at this point. I'm not surprised at the end of the day. I am very surprised at Jexay. Both main supporters for both teams, Florida Mayhem and Houston Outlaws, very surprised Jexay is gone, but there had been some issues why they did not renew his contract, because Jexay, next to Dante and Mecca, were probably the huge parts with the Houston Outlaws this season, and everyone knew these guys were the three bright spots on the team. Maybe Jexay not fully as much compared to like Dante, but at the end of the day, these were three bright spots on the Houston Outlaws they should have built around. But very surprising. We're obviously going to talk about all the teams they should go to. It was very, kind of rough with Blase and Linkser, because honestly they only had one team I think of, and Jexay had a lot of teams, probably the most teams I wrote down for a player doing this kind of video. But let's go ahead and write down who I think is going to happen, but I'm going to get it out of the way first. Muma, I don't think Muma's going to go anywhere. Unfortunately, he had a really rough 2 seasons. It feels like season 1 was honestly really good for Muma, and season 2 he really dropped the ball when it came to GOATs. Season 3, I think it speaks for itself. A DPS player started over you in main tank that you've been grinding for ever since the game came out. Muma did not have a good year this year, and he wants to still give it a shot. And if there was a team that he would give a shot, probably that he would maybe play for, Vancouver Titans. But if honestly, I would still take Shredlock over Muma. So that's why I did not really make a graphic for Muma, because I really don't think he has a chance being in the Overwatch League next season, and it hurts to say that, but I'm being completely honest. But hey, if there is a team that takes him, he must have did really good in tryouts or something happened. Now let's talk about Blase. There's one team I wrote down for Blase, and I think this one was kind of an obvious one. It is the Vancouver Titans. Honestly, this is all for Vancouver Titans not really having a flex DPS player who plays projectiles, and I don't think Blase would be a massive part, but at least he would still be a flex DPS if there ever was a Genji meta again, or anything projectile related, because they had to put Dante, they had to force Dante onto that role, and it did not do good for the Titans. But Shockwave, on the other hand, did a great job. But Blase coming in, if he had to play those projectiles, would make Vancouver look better. And at the end of the day, when it came to Blase and the Houston Outlaws, he was just very poor. He did not perform good. I remember when he first came in, he played some Kree. It was really bad. I think that was more on the coaches down on Blase. It was just poor performances all the time with Blase, and it sucked to see it, because he did have a somewhat good season on Boston in Season 2. Season 3 for Houston was not good for him. If he does go to Vancouver Titans, which I said would be a great pickup for him, and I think it's the only team that would really take Blase, I think he would honestly look good on this team if, he played the right heroes, the coaches coached them well, and that's really it. And now we're on to Linkser, which I think Linkser was honestly only really good for Houston Outlaws, but there is a team I do have written down though. And I think Linkser, at the end of the day, performed somewhat good at Season 3 near the end. It was a very rough season for Linkser as well. He went up and down a lot, but when he had his moments, he had his moments. He's still a good hits game player who deserves to be in Overwatch League. But what team is that going to be is at the end of the day. That's where we ask our questions, and that's where we see how many more releases of free agents are going to be throughout the season, and then we'll get our answers, it feels like. But right now, the only team I wrote down for him, and this is going off of leaks, is London Spitfire for Linkser. If London Spitfire does go towards the British Hurricane route, they still won't have a hit-scan DPS player because Sparker, I don't know how to say his name still, will be underage, and he is the hit-scan player. You bring Linkser in to play that hit-scan role, and I think it would be absolutely crazy to see with Linkser and Dan playing on the London Spitfire. This is the only team I really see happening for Linkser, unfortunately, but like I said, the more releases, the more free agents we'll see throughout the league in the offseason. Will make more of an answer. But at the end of the day, Linkser, like I said, he is a risky player. He is a risky pickup, but if he does perform, he performs at a high level. And Linkser still deserves it. He had a rough season in Season 3, also in Season 2, but like I said, he deserves it. Now on to Jexay. A lot of teams I wrote down here. I'll go ahead and talk about his Houston Outlaws season real quick. He performed really good, very unexpected, because I did not expect Jexay to perform this good, especially what we saw from Seoul Dynasty in Season 2. Very poor performance. Toby's still doing better than him in general at the end of the day, and Jexay came in Seoul Dynasty poor, came into Houston Outlaws, expected him to do poor, but he popped off. One of probably the better Lucios in the league, one of the better main supports in the league this season. Not S tier, but he was definitely very good. Saved some fights for the Houston Outlaws, made the fight off of his plays in general. He was good at the end of the day, but it sucks to see him release, and there is a lot of teams I wrote down for him. It is the Atlanta Reign, LA Valiant, Florida Mayhem, Hangzhou Spark, Washington Justice, Toronto Defiant, and the LA Gladiators. To start off with the Atlanta Reign one, I think at the end of the day, if we compare Masa to Jexay from Season 3, I think Jexay just did better than Masa this season. And if Jexay brings that aggressive playstyle towards Atlanta Reign, or brings it to Atlanta Reign, I should say, I think I would honestly elevate the Atlanta Reign playstyle by a lot. I think it would be a good fit as well. I think Jexay would be a really good fit into the Atlanta Reign, especially if the new pickups they're doing with Iris or Laris, however you want to say. I think those two would be a great duo, and we'll see how that goes. LA Valiant, I think Reign and Jexay almost have somewhat of the same playstyle, but I think Jexay is a little bit more aggressive, and I think Jexay is also like a tiny bit better, not a lot better than Reign, but like I said, at the end of the day, it all depends on what happens. Florida Mayhem, I think it's obvious at this point they no longer have Chris, so might as well get Jexay. Hangzhou Spark, I think Jexay could be better than IDK. IDK had an up and down season, it felt like. He still performed at an aggressive level in the game, but I think Jexay could bring a lot to this team as well. Washington Justice, I think Jexay is just better than Arc. Toronto Defiant, he's just an upgrade over Cruz. And LA Gladiators, that's pretty obvious they don't have a support right now, so why not get Jexay? I think he would also fit really well into the LA Gladiators. Imagine him with Space and OG. That would be an insanely good duo. Very aggressive as well. At the end of the day, I think the two teams Jexay would really go towards, I feel like he would be great on, is the Atlanta Reign and the LA Gladiators. Maybe even the Hangzhou Spark, but it all depends on what happens at the end of the day with contracts and all of that. And that is it with all the free agents / releases, whatever you want to say, happened today. But now we're going to talk about this really weird tweet from the Houston Outlaws. Maybe I'm thinking too hard onto this. I probably am. But Houston Outlaws tweet this out before some of the more free agents that came out is, as the season comes to an end, we extend gratitude to our 2020 players. Thank you for your hard work and the amazing memories we forged together during our first year in H-Town. This is a very weird tweet, and also at the end of the GIF, it does say once an outlaw, always an outlaw. And this coming out with all the other free agents coming out as well, being kind of released, I guess you could say, is strange, and it made a lot of people think that everyone's getting released. But Linkser said on stream that everyone's not getting released, which I hope those players that are not getting released are Dante and Meko, at least. They have still not released Blink yet at the time making this video. Hydration's still on it. Repel is still on the roster. There's still some players on this roster that still need to, I guess, be gone at this point, because I think Dante and Meko are probably their brightest spots, with Jexay as well, but he's gone now. But if they're releasing everyone, that is crazy. But I understand, though, they need a full revamp and everything if they want to be a good team. They've been bad 3 seasons in a row, and their coaching staff, was unfortunately underwhelming this season. I had high expectations for the coaching staff. It was poor. I had some expectations with the roster, not massive. I still didn't expect them to perform this well because honestly they didn't make that many changes. Now that I'm looking at it, they only really made Repel, Meko, and Jexze. Now that I remember, but there's probably more that really made huger impacts, but those are the three in general. But they still need to make a lot of moves if they want to be good, especially the coaching staff. The fact that there's not been that much coaching stuff coming out except for Dream, I do think they unfortunately need to do something with Harsha. If Harsha wants to be an assistant coach, I think that would be nice as well, but they definitely need a new head coach. And hey, Arrow's still there, but I don't think they'll take Arrow. Anyways, guys, that is going to be it for me. That was a lot to cover today with a lot of releases / free agents, however you want to word them. If you want to stay more in tune with a lot of stuff that's going to happen in the future weeks, couple of days or so, you definitely got to subscribe to the channel, and we'll do more stuff as well with tier list in the future as well, hopefully sometime this month. And yeah, don't forget to join my Discord down below. Also, don't forget to my Twitter and my Twitch, and don't forget to hit that bell, and don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.